Okay, so today's webinar is with Susann Pinter, and we're going to be looking at PhET Interactive Simulations in the STEM classroom. Susann is the academic coordinator for the CalTeach Math teaching program at UC Davis. In this role, she is working with undergraduate science and math majors who are interested in becoming STEM teachers. She has over 2 decades of experience in STEM education, 8 of them as a high school science teacher in Connecticut and Illinois. So we are super excited to have Susann here with us to share her experience and her knowledge about PhET Interactive Simulations. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Susann. And if you guys have any questions, please use the chat. Or if you want to ask a direct question, if it's something that's urgent right there, just go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay. Thank you so much, Chelsea, for the introduction. So welcome, everyone, on this Thursday evening. Of course, it's 6 o'clock and everybody's a little bit tired, but I'm really excited that you join us here for this webinar. So my webinar is about STEM classroom, and specifically about PhET simulations in the STEM classroom. And I prepared a couple things for you. So I will ask Chelsea if you could please put the slides and the workshop overview links back into the chat. So most of you probably don't see it yet. So my slides will be available to you. And at the same time, I also I'll put together a little bit workshop overview Google Sheet as well for you, with a lot of links that may be useful for you to actually eventually create activities around these PhET simulations. So that's the one housekeeping part. So I will be sharing my screen now, and I'll be starting the presentation in just a second. So, PhET Interactive Simulations in the STEM classroom. As I said, I have workshop presentation slides and a workshop overview as well for you. And these PhET simulations are kind of really cool, and I found out about them just through chance, by chance, through a chemistry professor on the UC Davis campus, and got put onto those PhET simulations. That's what we are going to exploring today. They are interactive simulations, and they have been created by a working group out of the University of Colorado Boulder, and they started out relatively small. And PhET, it's kind of a bit of a funny term, because it stands for Physics Education Technology. And those guys started out with physics simulations specifically, but later on found that a lot of people wanted to have more than just physics. They really branched out, and they have over 160 simulations now, and they're all STEM. You can find math, you can find physics, chemistry, earth science. It's just a wealth of possibilities. It's unreal. It's really, really wonderful. They're inquiry-based simulations, and they're kind of game-like, and that makes them extremely effective and also very attractive to students. So in this workshop, I've got a couple goals here for you. I want you to become familiar with the research-based teaching methods that those PhET simulations are based on. They're all for inquiry teaching. They're all interactive engagement. It's not just watching a video and then you one and done. You will, or the students will, actually interactively engage with these simulations. So you have to do something in order to see something and make it happen. You make it actually happen. I want you to become familiar with these simulations. What makes a PhET simulation a unique learning tool? I want you to realize that. And how can it be actually used in class? It's really easy and it's effective. You can use it in class in all different kinds of ways. I'm going to talk about that, how it can be done. And hopefully I have time for you to maybe plan for a sim use in a class that you are teaching right now or are interested in teaching. So I want you to hopefully be able to identify a useful PhET sim for your class. I want you to possibly taking a look at practice activities that are available on the PhET website. And I don't think you will be able to work on your own activity because that really takes a little bit of time. But you know, we've got aspirations and goals, and hopefully once we're done with this workshop, you'll be able to develop your own activity. And again, on this guide sheet that I've put up on the Google Drive, there are all sorts of different links that will help you to create own activities around the sim. So it's not like that you would creating your sim yourself. That's what the University of Boulder working group does. But the goal is also to create activities around the sim so that you can use the simulation and guide your students through the simulation, you know, using these activity sheets.
Susann?
Yes.
It looks like the slides are not on Google Drive. We either need to share access because it looks like we can't click on the files.
Oh, no. Okay, we'll try, although it's going to take a whole bunch of time away from what we're doing.
Well, why don't we just keep going and then we can come back and make sure they have access to it.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
That's a good idea. So let's talk about traditional approach of science teaching. And the traditional approach was usually the following: like, think very hard about a subject, get it figured out very clearly so you really know what you're doing, and then explain it to the students so that they will understand it with some clarity. That's all good and fine, and it sounds very aspirational, and in theory it should work. But unfortunately, research shows that this traditional approach does not work particularly well, because it is just giving students you know, vocabulary, giving them concepts to learn without really being able to practice these concepts. So we want to get away from that, and the Sims help us to really get away from it. So educational research, what does tell us how to teach science? Well, for one thing is get students really actively engaged and not passively listening. So you kind of know probably the cone of learning. All the way on top is just passive listening, and all the way on the bottom is actually being actively engaged. So we want our students being actively engaged in learning. We want to find out what our students are thinking and address them possibly preconceived ideas, and either activate prior knowledge, or if there are any misconceptions, to hopefully get rid of those. We want our students to connect to new materials and to what students already know into everyday life. So that's the prior knowledge activation. And that's very powerful because that sort of gives students kind of a powerful option to really engage with the topics on hand. We want to focus on conceptual understanding and not just on problem solving, because that, again, student learning is enhanced by that. And we want to, of course, reduce cognitive load by eliminating unnecessary details and jargon. The details and jargons, they can be learned later on. But right now, we want students to understand concepts. That's the big goal. So how do you know what your students are thinking? Think about it for a second. I've got those 5 different options. I know what they're having trouble with by listening to the questions they ask. I can see what they're having trouble with by looking at their homework. I can see what they're having trouble with by looking at their exams.
Very beautiful.
All of the above, none of the above. Maybe you can put into the chat what your students, what you would answer. I'm kind of a little bit curious about that. Okay, maybe we do not have a lot of teachers here. So the bottom line is, for me, it's basically I knew what my students were not getting by looking at their homework, by looking at their exams, and by listening to their questions. And of course, we want to then be able to remedy the problem. All right, physics, education, and technology, PhET. What exactly is it? So it's this website, and it's on this website, there is a suite of free interactive simulation. By now, there are 160. So when I started out about 5 years ago, there were maybe 50. Now it has really ballooned, and they're constantly working on more PhET simulation, covering all sorts of things: physics, modern physics, chemistry, math, biology. It's based on research, and that's a really cool thing because you've got these simulation, these people who create those simulations, the computer tech people working with the researchers together, and then they actually try those sims out on students and see what they are coming up with and what works and what doesn't work. They are free. They're free online, so again, you do not need to pay for anything. You can download them, but you don't need to in order to be able to work with them. Easy to use, easy to incorporate in your class. It's really wonderful. And the great thing is also, if you don't necessarily have computers available for every student, these days, the majority of the students have smartphones. And so there are those PhET simulations. You can download them in form of an app. So you can download the app and you can actually get into these simulations through the app. And the best part is these sims align to the NGSS. By the way, this is the research group here. This is the research group from, I think it's about 5 years ago, that was working on the PhET sims specifically. It has changed a little bit, but I don't have a more recent picture. All right, so they're super versatile. These sims, you can use them standalone. You can use them in classrooms and lecture-based classrooms if you want to. Students can figure out different kinds of sims on their own. So it's really super versatile, and they can be used basically from elementary school, so all the way to college, to the college level. So these PhET sims have different kind of I should probably say the majority of the PhET sims have different kinds of levels. So students who are in elementary school and you want to teach them, for example, about very basic concepts of light, for example, there's a sim for that. And again, it's very game-based, and it's very easy for these students to just interact because the features are super, super simple. But you can also get it all the way to the college, on the other hand. So there are parts of the sims which are for elementary school, literally, and then the other part you can go and do much higher level learning if you wanted to. All right, they are in the lecture in a classroom. They can be a visual aid or a demo, or it can be sort of a complement to some interactive, hands-on science that you're doing, a lab that you're doing hands-on. You can also do it as a simulation. You can do concept tests about it if you want. They're also great as group activities, for example, or they can be used in discussions as background for discussions. That can be used at homework. You can assign a sim about a specific topic, and you can that way introduce actually new ideas before you even start teaching. So let students basically explore them and sort of learn on their own different kind of concepts, and that is actually really powerful.
Like that when you're...
I'm sorry, there was a question. I could not hear that. Okay, I will continue. So pre-class assignment, it can be also post introductions, and that can then really develop, students can really develop very robust understanding about those PhET sims. And again, there are engaging open style play area, highly interactive, highly game-like. You get right away feedback. There are really great links to animations, explore and discover connections to the real world. It is just absolutely great. Really flexible for US teachers because you can adapt, as I said before, the sim to any kind of grade level, to specific lesson goals, and basically on the fly in the classroom, you haven't prepared anything. It's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Well, take out your smartphones. Let's take a look at the sim. So all great options. I want you, when we get into exploring the sim, I will get you the link so that you can actually explore the sim, the PhET sims on your own. I want you to kind of look at those sims, or one of them. It doesn't matter which one. I have an example here, which I personally really like. That is, those are two different kinds. One of them is on concentration. The other one is actually on molarity. And check out what those variables within the sim that are, what's available to you. What does the sim actually do? So you should, as a teacher, maybe check out the sim before you give it to the students, so you actually know what exactly is going on. So get to know your sim. That is kind of important. Check it out. Check out the different kinds of features, and then you maybe you can compare one sim with another and decide, oh well, this one really, the molarity is the better one for the particular purpose that I would like to introduce. So also these PhET sims, some of them are introducing concepts and show concepts that you don't necessarily can do that in the classroom. For example, you cannot necessarily have a roller coaster set up in the classroom, or you can't necessarily take a field trip to a roller coaster and take a look at in real time. But there's it's actually a sim for that, and that explores the different kind of forces, for example. So this is another sim that I kind of really like. So it has real-time feedback. So this is about pH. This is a pH sim. It has real-time feedback. It has sort of highly interactive game-like features, has a real-world connection. So if you would, for example, click on it, you'll see there's chicken soup. There is, I think, stomach acid. There's vomit. So some of the options are kind of gross, but that appeals to students in some capacity. There are multiple representations possibilities. You can actually, if you click a different one, you can actually see the different kind of molecules sort of moving around. I should probably say ions moving around in the chicken soup, for example. Something that you can't really see obviously when you look at your chicken soup or your battery acid or something like that. So it's really unusual in that way, and it's very concept. The concept is very graphic, and a lot of people do learn through visual learning. So it's very visual, very graphic. All right, it's exploration time. So we'll get into breakout rooms. I'll make sure that the different sheets that I gave you are active. So what I want you to do is kind of browse the entire PhET website. I will, in just a minute, show you where it is. And I kind of want you to sort of match up topics and concepts you teach with Sims. Think about how you might use it, maybe as a pre-classroom assignment, maybe a lecture concept, in-class activity, homework, anything else you can think of. So I'll stop sharing my screen right now, and I will put the PhET Sim web link into the chat. So here is the link for everyone. Before we go into breakout rooms, I will start sharing my screen one more time and sort of give you the bit of a option to take a look through my view, through my window, before I let you just, run off and do your own thing. All right, so here we are at the PhET website. This is how it looks. You have the option to explore your sims, that are all of them. Or if you would like to explore it in a target way, you've got kind of buttons here to press for targeted options. And again, we've got 160 interactive simulations. They come in 95 language translations. That's really cool. Another great thing is there are teacher submitted lessons that you can download, so you don't even need to invent the wheel. In order to do that, and it's a little bit tedious in order to get to it, just what you need to do is you need to write activity in here, activities. And it gets you to those specific activities. So I'll press that. And here are the activities popping up. And look at this list here. I mean, it is huge. So these are activities that you can download, for example, and then use in your classroom. You can also make your own activities. You can upload them and actually share what you did. So that's really neat as well. All right, everyone, it is now exploration time for you. Chelsea, if you would put us into breakout rooms, please. And I will make sure that everybody is able to get at the Google Slides. I thought I already did give everybody access, but apparently I did not.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do, let's see here, how many we have in here. Hold on, give me 2 seconds here, guys.
Okay.
Okay, you guys can go ahead and join your rooms.
Yeah.
All right, looks like we have a couple of people that haven't joined their breakout room. Is there anybody? I'm trying to see if I can push you over there. Did you not get the link to be able to join? You can unmute yourself.
So theoretically, everybody should be able to actually look at. It's, as I said, it's this huge amount, and it's almost really overwhelming to start, and you have to kind of hone in. Okay, am I a physicist? Do I want to do some physics? Am I a chemist? Do I want to do some chemistry? So here's the important thing: whenever you are looking at one of these PhET sims, you do not have to download anything. Okay, that's absolutely not necessary. You don't have to clutter your computer with the sims. You can just click on them, and they should be able to come up for you to take a look without downloading them. All right. So how was that? Were you able to match up some topics with your interests? Were you able to think a little bit on how you would be able to use a sim specifically that you found? Homework, in-class activity? You can just unmute yourself maybe and talk about it real quick. Oh, and Chelsea, I think we want to restart the recording again.
Yes, I got it recording.
Thank you.
I could talk about how some of us at Douglas Middle School use our PhET. I know Chad and Allie are with me from Douglas Middle School, and we use PhETs probably once a week, if not a couple times a week. And we've been using them probably for over a decade. And then we've come to rely on them more heavily with distance learning. So we'll let the kids play around. We'll make it interactive. We've paired it with a Pear Deck this year sometimes, or we use Google Docs for it's interactive and they collect data. So they're fun.
They are really fun, and they're very, very useful, of course, yes. All right, so those activities, do they actually address your learning goals that you have? Do they require active thinking and sense making and reasoning? You have to think about that when you choose a sim for your students. Build they possibly on prior knowledge, or do they connect with the real world? All these are items and pieces you want to address. So I kind of want you to specifically look at a sim, and that is the circuits activity. Think about sort of the guidelines that I just had before, that I showed them to you. How could you use that in a classroom? So I'm going to put this into the chat now. This is the specific sim I would like you to look at. Okay.
And you should be able to access the slides in the overview now. We fixed them.
Yeah, we fixed it. I apologize. I do not know what was going on. My computer said it was fixed and that everybody has access, and then you didn't. And I don't know. Sorry. When it's supposed to work, then of course technology doesn't. Okay, so everybody, I would like you to please look at that specific PhET sim that I put into the chat. And this is the circuits activity. And I'd like you to go into breakout rooms. Maybe we can partner you up. So with a second person, or maybe 3 people. And I would like you to think about how you could use that actually in your classroom.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put 3 to 4 in a breakout room and move you guys right now.
Right. Now you don't have a lot of time. I'll give you maybe 5 minutes at most. come back to the main room. Chelsea, if you could start the recording, please, again.
Yes, I just did.
Thank you. So you had the option now, the opportunity to take a look at the circuits activity. Going back here, hopefully you will be able to walk through it with a partner. And I personally like it. I always had a little trouble with electricity and taking a look at circuits. So this is why I actually made you going through this. I personally think it's a really good activity and really shows electricity and what is part of electricity. So when you have these activities, of course, you cannot and should not just let them stand alone and have students give them the link and say, here you go, this is your activity, take a look at it. It's an option, it's an approach, and probably kind of a fun approach, but there should be also some activity around those PhET simulations because that sort of deepens the learning. And when you give them a PhET simulation to more kind of look at and to explore, you sort of should think about what kind of general characteristics or approaches you would use in making an activity sort of a learning experience that maximizes effective learning. So take a look at. There are also on the worksheet options. For example, there's an activity design guidelines for you. So to be able to design activities on your own if you wish to do so. If you don't want to, again, you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel because there are like over 2,000 activities you can actually choose from. And if you think you personally made a particularly good activity you really want to share with everybody else, then of course you have the option to upload that activity to the PhET working group. And so everybody else can have access to it as well. So thank you for joining us this evening. This was the end of my presentation. If you want, you can stick around and I can open this for any questions you might have. I'm happy to answer those and stick around a little longer than 6 o'clock. I know at 6 o'clock kind of came up fast and furious, at least for me. So again, thank you for joining. I will stop sharing my screen. You have access now to the slides and you also have access now to the worksheet. And it's kind of up to you to take it from here to look at the different kind of activities, look at the worksheets, look at activity guidelines on how you actually make activities. And if we had another hour, I could actually lead you through and how to make an effective activity yourself. Okay, thank you so much.